dun 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 dun.
All right.
Hi, Simon.
It's not karaoke still. Right.
Good morning for me. Happy 338 hours since we last joined.
Oh, yeah, it's double. It's double, isn't it? Last week got cancelled.
Yeah.
Apologies, everyone. Last minute changes meant we couldn't do the show. But we're here now. That's the main thing.
Things happen. That's what the story always is. Things do happen.
Things happen.
We do have other lives besides doing this show. Thank God, actually. Yes.
Oh, good. Would that be Groundhog Day? Just imagine every day was just answering questions.
No. Every day with 4 hours of sleep. No, that would be horrible. I do not think so. I do not think I would sign up for that opportunity. Although I remember, the character in Groundhog Day did not actually sign up for it. Although he seemed to have fun with it after a while. I often wonder what my life would be like that. That would be weird. Maybe I could finally get a few things right. As long as it was like earlier enough in my life that I still had a working leg and things, that would be better. All right, hey, so we should probably introduce ourselves and start
let's do the introductions. Welcome to Humpday.
The instructions, right? The instructions are you type stuff in the chat and then we take you. But here we go. So here are the do's and don'ts for today. Be nice, be respectful, be constructive. This is a YouTube live, so. This is not just a random chat room. We are, in fact, recording this for posterity. So please be kind and gentle to each other. And we do have ban hammers if you aren't following these rules. Don't post anything adult content, rude or offensive. Don't advertise or promote anything. Only people on camera are allowed to promote things here. So if you're doing that in the chat, you will be deleted. So do not do that. Do not spam. Do not post the same thing again and again. And in particular, do not post a question and not having seen an answer in 12 minutes, post the question again. You will be put to the bottom of the list by our famous question magician. That would be me. And then you lose your place in line. And then you're just going to get answered later, if at all. So don't do that. Do not post the same question again and again. We have seen them. We just need to get to them in the appropriate time. Do not harass anybody. No harassment is tolerated at all. Harassment is not tolerated. I guess that's the same thing, right? I don't know. It's too early, right? Okay. But do have a good time. We obviously enjoy doing this show and have a great time. That's why we're doing it week after week after week. And also, we hope you are learning things and finding out new stuff and getting your particular problem solved, which is why we keep coming back to do this. I think that's everything on the list, right, Simon?
Indeed. Have a good time. All right. I guess we'll do some brief introductions. My name is Simon Lightfoot, Flutter community leader, CTO at Dev Angels London, and you can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London. Scott can't be with us at the moment, but Randall, please introduce yourself.
I am Randall Schwartz. I am a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert from the very first batch over 5 years ago now. And what that means is I spend a lot of time answering people's questions on Stack Overflow and Reddit and various other places, especially the Discords. I spend probably 1 or 2 hours a day patrolling the Discords and trying to answer questions there. And for this show, I am also the question magician, which means I am watching the chat for you to put Q: in front of your message. If you do, that is flagged to me as something that is for our panel and not just a random chat amongst yourselves. So please prefix your questions with Q:, and that will get you, here it comes, into the queue. Oh, man. All right. There's that horrible pun week by week. Okay. I think that's enough introduction for me.
We also have a few other people with us, so let's get some people on stage. Danielle, welcome to the stream.
Hi there. I'm still stoked every time I see myself on this card. That's awesome. Thank you again for letting me be part of this. That's to everybody out in the audience too as well. Anyway, I'm Danielle Cox. I am a Flutter developer. Obviously, I lead a team of Flutter developers on at a company called Ardly, and we're a startup, and it's been a neat experience with that. And I'm also very proud that I am one of the organizers of the Flutteristas. And that's an organization for female and non-binary people. And we've got some really exciting news. So I have brought with me one of my other organizers and dear friend, Esra.
Hello, everyone. I'm Esra from Turkey, Istanbul, also one of the organizers of Flutteristas. I'm here to give great news today. I want to say hi to everyone. I will be attending hosted today. So excited to see you all.
We also have John. John, welcome back to the stage.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. It's been a few weeks, more than the 2 that we missed.
The F's back.
The F, it's partially back. So phase 1 is done. I managed to get the wood cut and painted. I need to build the backing to actually truly mount it on the wall with the lighting behind it. So I get the back.
Oh, yeah, actually, so it's going to be lit up F. It's going to be like
yeah, from behind. What I want to do is build the mounts and
nice.
then wrap them in LEDs so that it's like backlit. So I might get a chance to do that this weekend. We'll see. But
I reckon people probably think it's like an overlay, like a digital overlay in the corner. They won't realize.
like my video games.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yep. So so happy to be here. Yeah, I like Randall hang out in Discord a lot, answering questions, handle the Flutter community medium, and have been sitting answering and doing stuff for I guess 5 years now.
Cool. Well, welcome to the show. I think George, you want to talk about what's coming up, Ezra, and then I guess we can get into the shows proper.
Of course.
And I'm going to drop out because there's a lot of people on the screen, but I'll be right back. I'm staying in the chat room, so hang out there.
All right. Maybe we can also show the assets. For people who is hearing for the first time, I want to introduce Flutteristas first. And Flutteristas is a worldwide community of people whose gender identity is either female or non-binary and have an interest in Flutter SDK. And in Flutteristas, we are dedicated to provide a harassment-free, inclusive experience for everyone, regardless their gender identity and expression, orientation, disability, neurodiversity, like anything that you can imagine. We are just trying to provide a safe environment for you to thrive. And for this one, we are organizing Flutteristas conference as every year as possible, but we had to give a small break since we provided. Now, this year Flutteristas conference is back, and it's gonna happen in 11th November. It's gonna be online again, and you can reach out more information in flutteristas.org. And if you want to join Flutteristas, you can again go to the website, and you will see a link below, and then there is a form that you can fill. After you fill the form, we're gonna reach you out, and you can become a Flutterista. Thanks for letting us announce it. And we have, I think, more than 20-25 speakers right now. It's coming quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and part of why
We are back.
part of why I wanted Ezra coming on instead of me just talking about it is because she is really the head project manager that's putting on this conference. So she's doing a great job.
Thank
So,
you.
I can't wait. I can't wait for us to share it with all of you.
And just talking about conferences, I'll be remiss in not mentioning that next week is Joy-Con London, which is also going to have a Flutter track, and you can actually go get your tickets. I'll put a discount ticket if you want to come next week and you can travel. Then there'll be a whole track of Flutter-related talks for 2 days straight. And also on the 25th is Flutter London meetup, so 3 days of Flutter content next week. So don't miss out. So yeah, go to the promo. It's out of the way now.
And Flutter Platinum is that same week, right?
Is it? Oh,
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
It might be
It always
even
happens.
conflicting.
It always happens at once. It always happens at once, doesn't it?
And that'll be cool because they're gonna have tracks in both English and Spanish.
Yes, Latam is October 25-26.
That's it. We're going to be fighting for the not quite, but yeah.
In different continents of the world.
Yeah.
All right. I honestly, I've been so busy with work. I've not even looked at Twitter, I don't think, for like a whole week, which is very rare for me. So I have no idea what's going on. Has anything come up recently about the Flutter in the Flutter sphere of things that we should chat about? Wow. I think Ezra, I think it's your microphone that's going brushing against your hair.
Checking. I was trying to hide it, but yeah.
Well, that sounds a lot better.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
There we go. Yep.
All right.
Oh well, if there's nothing in it, I mean, we go straight on with the questions. I'm drawing a blank right now on anything to discuss in relate to the Flutter world at the moment. Obviously, a lot of other things have been happening in the news, but we're not going to talk about that. So, all right. Well, in that sense, I guess we can just jump straight into it. Ezra, did you want to stick around for the entire show, or were you just coming on? Yeah. Okay, cool.
When I bring my guests, I try to bring them for real.
Okay.
Feels like, oh, are you available? Yes, you are staying.
It was funny, like, because at F3 at the Flutter Firebase Festival, it was like I'm meeting people, like they're meeting me the first time in 3D. Like I'm there in front of them for the first time, right? Like same for me to them. Like I'm like, oh, that's the face to the name, right? Like it's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's. I guess we'll just get on with some questions. That's so. Again, put your questions with a Q column in front of them, and we'll get them answered in the chat. Someone's keyboard is really loud. With someone's alerts are going off as well. It'd be great if. Right. With Flutter Web installed on an app. On a phone, how can I manually change the location permission? On a Flutter Web installed as an app on a phone. Well, it's the same as what you do with a browser. There's no different. So Dart HTML has the same support that the browser does for requesting location. You can just use there's a package called Geolocator, which is like the sort of go-to package that supports it. Just request for permission, and you'll get it, and it'll pop up to the user. As asked for, permissions. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work for an install.
Yeah, because it's just running it really as an app.
Right.
Let's do a little. Should we do a little bit of browsing here? Hang on. Let's screen share. Let's see if we can get this working. There you go. Is that big enough? I know. Yeah. So this is the Geolocator plugin made by our friends over at Baseflow, based in the Netherlands. Really cool people. I think it's Netherlands. I'm going to go it wrong now. They shout at me through the computer screen. Anyway, so you can just use this and just use normal location stuff, and it will use the correct location manager for web. So let's go look. Geolocator web. Go look at the GitHub repo for that. Here's the web one, and permissions manager. So let's make that bigger. So there you go. Look, so you've got a global HTML window navigator permissions. So that's the HTML is the import .html. Window is the global that comes from JavaScript, and this is apparently a navigator. By the way, for those that don't know, navigator is browser. Right. So back in the day, your browser used to be called a web navigator. And instead of a web browser, the two terms were used quite interchangeably. And navigator was, what was it? Netscape Navigator. That was it. That was a quite popular product at the time. So that's where that term comes from. And then this is the permissions. This is saying the permissions of your browser window, basically. Anyway, so there you go. To locate permission query. Yeah. So you just do permissions query. Oh. So you take HTML window navigate permissions .query, and then you send it this object name geolocation. There you go, and that's it. Magically, that's how you request for permissions. So if you want to do it yourself, you can do that, or you can just use You can put that one line in your code, or you can just use the plugin like you would do normally, and it should work. And then this is the same thing. Here's how you get the geolocation package or piece of the browser and get current position. And there you go. That's how you do it. Nice and simple. Nice and simple. Right. I guess we'll get back to the question. Hopefully that solved the. I think it answered it, didn't it? I think so.
Yep.
All right. Next one. Is there a way to update, like code push, a web app installed on a phone? The trick with Flutter view onto a Flutter work great, but location permission gets auto denied. So the reason why your location permission might get auto denied is because you need to enable JavaScript in a web view. But equally, you can't just have you say web app, you mean a PWA that's installed. So you go to a website and you install it from a website. In which case, it gets code push, right? Because it's just a browser. Like it's just next time they go to it, there is actually inbuilt web worker updates process that you can use in the browser for web workers that supports Flutter. Wow. Just think about it. We did that for the Flutter hackathon, global hackathon, when Flutter Web first came out, and that was 20. What was it?
2 years ago? 3 years ago?
I think it's longer than that. It was before COVID.
Was it even longer?
Was it all? I don't know. A while ago. There you go. It might have been 2020 actually. Anyway, if you're, I mean, like, yeah, you kind of get code push for free when it's a web app. You shouldn't need to use any web views, or if it's a PWA. If you're talking about a normal mobile app that has web content through a web view, so that's of course normally called a hybrid application, then yeah, you could just like have a JavaScript thing that just calls out to like the normal app store to get the updates. And my guess is if you wanted to, you could just host like a web page that's or a file that gives you the latest version, tells you to go to the app store to download it. I don't know. Anything from anyone else?
Well, I mean, if you're installed as a PWA, the part that's installed that wouldn't be updated for free, right? But anything it calls to would be.
No, I think it does. I think it calls out like it would do. It request out like when you install it, it just installs. It takes it's just a cached copy of all the content, but it does try and request that content again. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
great. Should work the same as a browser.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take a copy as it sits. If you've got so Flutter uses what's called web workers, and there was an issue originally with it not getting updates correctly, and they did solve that, but it was a while ago. Hang on, web.
I believe you on that. That's fine. I believe it.
No, I'm just trying to see if there's like a. Yeah, there's an update method on web worker registration. So where you go to some websites, or you're sitting on, let's say you're on Firebase console, and it says there's an updated version of Firebase console, and when you tap it, it just refreshes the web page. It's basically that,
okay.
Right? The idea is that whilst you're running the app, you might get an update, but the next time you run it, it'll be using the latest version of the code anyway. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, hopefully that solves it, right? Oh, we should get Mark Thompson or Texan on here.
Yeah,
because he'll know all about the web stuff.
Yep,
for sure.
A client wants his app to be private. He doesn't want everyone to download it, but only a chosen people. Are there private stores, or maybe an app store, a place to give private links? Yes and yes. How's that?
Yeah.
So you can set in Apple App Store, you can set up a test flight beta group or alpha group, as whatever you want to call it, and you just add people to this. So you got two things. You can just add people by email address, but then they have to it has to go through approvals, or you can add them to your App Store Connect and just give them like reviewability or something, and then a review role, and then they can download stuff from test flight directly without going through approval.
Yeah, but those apps expire. so you would have to keep uploading.
Yeah.
And John shared a link for that too, by the way.
Yeah, maybe if you want to grab the 2 links and share those out. But there is like an enterprise store for Apple, and Android has a similar concept where you can only deploy apps to devices within your, kind of within your walled garden wirelessly. So there's not even really a store. It's just certificate management, and you pop it in, and then you can deploy the devices. Yeah,
that's the enterprise certificate signing. So
that'd be that'd be the way that I would probably do it on Apple, and then Android has a similar concept with different stores. I think we had a couple links.
You can do. So I've popped that in the chat. You can do on the Android side of things. It's a bit more confusing because you kind of get like open testing, closed testing, internal testing. Like there's a bunch of stuff in there, but basically what you want is closed testing, right? And that gives you, and you have a private email list, and people have to go to the testing page to do it. That's if it's like considered that. You can also do private app store listings, but they are limited. They're linked to a Google Workspace group, like an enterprise system that Google run. But you can do that.
Yep.
And I shared a link that's a little bit different than John's link. John's 2 links are specifically about deploying those things. But I shared a link also that Android has just on alternate distribution. So it's just other ways to get apps out there versus from the store. And they have issues. I mean, you can install an APK on any Android phone out there, but you have to kind of break the security on the phone to make that happen. So I would not recommend that for a general solution. But if it's very specific for you, you don't need to go through any of this. You could actually just install the APKs on the phones directly, and then hand the phones back, kind of thing. Depending on what the situation is. If you're selling to a few people, you don't want everybody else to download it. That's different. But if it's like, I don't know, internal for your company or something like that, there may be easy solutions for that on Android.
So you can also do managed devices, right? So if you have your devices a managed device, it can like install whatever software you want. That's on enterprise on Apple as well as
yes.
App. So when you've got a company, it's like an enterprise system, then it can just give someone a company phone and it will automatically update with the apps from the company and manage that and the whole infrastructure of that piece, right?
I mean, you can limit what can be run on the phone, stuff like that, through those types of things.
Yep.
We resolved it before by using device UUIDs, and then of course with the test flight by adding external users. I think it's the easiest. It's really like App Store.
I'm not even sure you need the UUIDs anymore. I think they're like, it's with the auto signing, it's like all managed for you. It used to be so painful not too long ago when you had to literally go get the UUID of each device and get on the what was it called? Signing profile or whatever it was called.
Right,
yeah. Oh god.
But like I said, if you're doing it through test flight, the problem with that is the fact that the test flight apps they have to expire.
Yeah. You'd have to go update it every 60 or 90 days, whatever it is.
90 days.
90 days should be.
Yeah. But again, that still might be easier than some of the other options.
All the enterprise stuff has costs attached. Not just like actual monetary costs necessarily, but also cost in terms of time and effort. Right. It's another thing, right? Like the closed testing track on Android is super simple, right? You just deploy that you would do normally to the closed testing track and you're done. Like you just manage your list. So anyway.
But I would not. The other thing I would want to say is you can make it private so other people don't see it, but I would not count on that as like a security kind of thing. So if you're doing this to get around, blocking certain people from being able to run it kind of thing, I don't think this is the right solution.
Well, closed testing is restricted to email addresses. You don't have to have. That's open testing is still one you have to go sign up for, but it's unknown. There's also a nice thing that Google also does in the testing stuff is you can set up a Google group and say anyone who's part of this Google group has access, and then you can maintain essentially your Google group separate as using APIs and all sorts of things to kind of manage that list, which is also kind of helpful. Anyway, okay, what's next?
Oh,
Oh no! Did you want to add something? Add something. If you want.
I actually just wanted to call out Gonzalo out there had pointed out the fact that with test flight, there's limits to how many users you can have on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so if we're talking about that as a possible solution, you need to be aware of this. So if it's private but you've got 20,000 users, that's not a possible solution, and you would have to go with one of the enterprise solutions.
But I'll be honest with you, if you've got that many users, you're going to be going enterprise.
Exactly, of course, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. What's next? Are there any statistics on Flutter usage? For example, what proportion of new Play Store and App Store applications have been developed with Flutter compared to native and other technologies? They do release them. They are. What's the quarterly survey results? They do release all that information.
Yeah, or at the different events. Yeah.
And there's some blog post stuff. They do release bits of information, and especially at like some of the events. I'm trying to remember. There is a. Is it on the official Medium? I feel like I've seen.
Yeah.
I don't even remember where I saw the numbers now. Maybe I can take a quick.
It's probably a follow up to one of the quarterly.
So it's just like. I mean, I can show people. I'm looking at here. This was just like I'm just looking at the Medium, the Medium blog.
Yeah.
It'll be the one time I'm trying to like find some numbers. I should probably just search for million.
They were saying over 2 million developers, I guess, but
I mean, it is like the thing is globally, like there's a ridiculous amount. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
No, it's Dart ecosystem. Yeah, it was silly numbers now, like really, really large numbers. But there's lots of information that is actually on. I don't know why it's black. But
I mean, just a quick search here is telling me that, and I don't see the source of this, but in the Google Play Store in May of 2022, there were 500,000 apps, and now it's over 1 million as of May 2023.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah.
I think actually saying that, there's also this website called AppBrain. And if I remember rightly, let's see if I find something here. Flutter Gallery. What this is, which is really cool actually. If it is the right website, of course, or maybe the wrong one. I'm thinking of now. Why can't I find what I'm looking for? Is it a particular version? Hang on. Sorry. 1 second. They've changed their website. If this is the right website, that is, of course. I could be looking at the wrong website. Statistics. This. Hang on. Wait for it. This takes me back to where I was.
Yeah.
Right. I know it's on here somewhere. So basically, if you take a, let's just maybe click one of these with this. Have they stopped doing it? This is going to bug the hell out of me if they stop doing it. I'm going to see if I can find this briefing here. Hang on. I'll let you guys talk. Basically, they actually tell you what libraries went into making an app. Right, it'll be the one time. Okay, hang on. There's a hidden button. Right, where is it? I search Flutter, right? So the Flutter gallery is definitely made with Flutter. And the Flutter. So here's the Flutter gallery. It says right at the very bottom, 3 libraries using 3 libraries. Flutter. Here we go. That's the URL. This tells you what percentage of overall apps are using it. Of new apps, 13.51% of new apps are using it. 4.76 of apps of market share of top apps are using it. So here's all the apps that contain Flutter right now. My Health, PUBG, Alibaba, Google Play Store, PDF Reader. Top 500 apps you can pay with. Nubank, Me Store. They are like what percentage of market share by category Flutter has. So there's great statistics you can find on certain things. I'll pop this in the chat if anyone wants it. But basically, yeah, if you're on an app on here, you can then just see what library does it have. Oh, it has Flutter, then it's made with Flutter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So But yeah, lots of options.
Yep.
So shopping, 8.9%. Finance, I can see finance being the top one because of the nature of the way Flutter compiles, being more effective. House and home, dating, events, parenting, social, news. I mean, that's like, you consider how old Flutter is compared to the other technologies. That's not a bad market share at all. It's the new baby on the block, and it's gaining every day.
Yeah.
Plus, you are talking about like, well, they actually literally says at the top there. Sorry, I just saw number of apps over 20. That total number of downloads over 20 billion. Number 4 in app frameworks. So
Yeah, but it also says Flutter.io. So what do they know?
yeah, it's not exactly Greece.
Other than that, for a little while, for a hot minute, it's been Flutter.dev.
Yep.
Anyway, so also over is kind of like, it's more than this.
Yeah, it's over 1 too.
Yeah, right. All right. What? Anything to anyone else has to add to this?
No, I think that.
No, I think
Alright.
actually, I'm sorry. I'm doing this to you every single time. Sorry about that. The only thing I want to add, this has nothing to do with the question, but when I was Googling a little bit about some of that stuff, one of the suggested questions that Google gave me back is Flutter taking over? So I thought that was a great question.
Ask. All right. Someone has to ask ChatGPT, is Flutter taking over the
I'm asking to Bart now.
Do it. Let's see what it says. For those that don't know, this is a Q&A show. We're here to talk about all things related to programming and development, mobile development specifically, but not specially. So get in here and we'll get you some sort of answer. So enter your questions in the live chat with the Q in front, and we'll get to them. Right, moving on. Let's see. Whilst they're trying to answer silly questions, what questions do we have? John says, sorry, different John. John Cummings says, what interesting packages have you seen within the week?
Have you seen this week? This week, probably.
Oh my God, my brain. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've not really had time to breathe this last week, so I've not seen anything. Any of you guys?
I've got one that I haven't been able to fully go in with yet, but one of our fellow Flutteristas, Anna, just published a package on creating barrel files using code generation. And let me
barrel files.
Yeah. Here, let me come over here to the private chat. I'm going to drop in the link if you wanted to, of the tweet, or the whatever we call X's. But anyway, she's just created this new package that does a specific thing. But I love how people can do that and then share it, and other people can use it.
Drop it in the chat, and I'll get it shown on the screen.
Yeah, and I can drop it in the real chat. I put it in the private chat, but let me go. I'll drop it in the chat.
Oh, no, sorry, I missed it. There we go. Oh, Anna Lushenko, yeah.
Yeah. She's one of our huge Flutterista success stories. She talked, the last Flutteristas conference we had was her first talk. And she is a GE now. She does all kinds of stuff. She's does amazing stuff with her husband. It's neat. Preparing for this talk, like she brought her husband in to kind of talk about some stuff. She's come and talk. She's helped mentor people. I mean, she's an amazing resource we have. And I haven't had the chance to pull it out and try to use it yet, but this is an interesting package to me because of who published it. So that's my answer to the question. And I love, John, that you asked this question. And I need to start looking for that before I come on here. So I have a good one to bring. But this one I saw on Twitter this last week when Simon wasn't paying attention.
So, so what's a barrel file? Am I missing something? Yeah.
What is a barrel file?
Yeah.
Like you're literally asking what a barrel file is, or?
Yeah. Is this the export files where you've got like
where you create a file that has everything exported in it, so you just have to import one file versus 50.
Right. And the idea there would be that way you could have
Yeah.
portions of packages or things like that they can include.
Yeah, typically
So I always see how the story. So I get this now. So basically, you're saying that. Sorry, that took me. I must not be with it completely. Yes, including barrel file. I do. You annotate all these things, and then basically these are going to be included in like an export. The generate code is this. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So instead of using a plugin for your IDE where you just right click and say create a barrel file and you have to redo that over and over, you just do it with the generator, and then you don't have to worry.
I pretty much manage them manually myself all the time. Never have a problem. But I guess a large project that can be a big pain.
Yeah. But again, this is part of the power of what we've got with this stuff is the fact that we
options.
Anna saw something and she thought she could make it easier, and not only did she make it easier for herself, she published it. So for the people that it's a good use case for, it's easier for everybody.
I really can't wait for oh man, I'm not firing all cylinders today. Meta programming.
Yes.
Because I think that's going to take from the way that the build runner system works at the moment. In meta programming is a big step up in the way that it works and is structured. It's going to make a big difference to performance and doing this kind of thing. Actually, one of Raphael, he's I think he's not in the UK anymore, but he was one of the Flutter London people in the very early days. He actually did a great talk on writing your own build runners, builders, or what they're called, code generators. And there's a couple of talks since then on that, and it's a really interesting thing to do. So if you've got, pretty much every project can benefit from some sort of code generation, even if it's not, your own code generator. Like you'll probably be using like JSON serializable or freezed or some other package that has code generation in it, just to get rid of that boilerplate. And this is no exception to that kind of rule. But I think there's definitely power in learning how to do that yourself, for sure. Like whenever you've got some code in your app that you could generate along the way, that really helps. I did the same thing for so a few apps now have done the same thing for icons and things like that, where it will generate like an index and various things like that for files.
Yeah, one of the just recently with some code I wrote, it's got a bunch of boilerplate where I've got a form, and if you leave focus on the form, I want to clear an error message. If it doesn't, I want to add an error or clear an error. If you start typing in the form, I want to clear the error as soon as if it's valid. I don't want to add a new error, but I want to clear it if it's valid. I want to be able to make the button only available when it's there. So I've got like 2-3 functions that I'm doing for everything in the form. And I'm basically duplicating the functions. And it would be nice to maybe generate something like that because it's a lot of boilerplate. So that this is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart right now. And I've not followed up enough to really know how to do it yet, but I'm going to. There's
definitely a place where you need to think about like what is boilerplate versus what is abstraction, right? Like in terms of can you abstract something away and simplify it so you are just passing 3 parameters to maybe a whole set of code versus like what do I actually have to do I have to do code generation because it's inherently complicated, or you're trying to gather information across from a whole bunch of source code across your application. Like the barrel example there is a great example where that is just code generation. That's the only solution there.
Yeah.
You did remind me though. Has anyone spotted the tap outside feature now?
No.
So let me bring this up on stream here. So text field now has an on tap outside built in.
Oh.
So whenever you wanted that thing where you tap outside and it gets rid of the soft keyboard, that's already built in. So on tap outside, a tap that occurs outside the text field, outside of the text field tap region group. So I'll give an example of where this is helpful. You can actually set it up so that if you have an icon next to your text field, if you tap on the icon, it doesn't dismiss the keyboard anymore. It keeps the keyboard open and the focus maintained in the text field. That can also be done by wrapping your text field. I think this is an example of this actually.
I have a very specific case where that's going to work well for me. Yeah.
So you can see here, look, it's highlighted, and then up, down, it still stays highlighted, it still stays focused. If this had a soft keyboard, it would remain open. And that all that is simply doing is wrapping the the area into the spinner field. If I can find it. Sorry. Spinner field. Oh my goodness me. So complicated. I mean, a bit of example. If I can find it. Here we go. So tap text field region, column, outline button. So these are the two. These are part of that field region, basically. Anyway, yeah. So there's a whole thing around like how that works, which is pretty cool. Especially under the hood, like it's just a. In this case, it assigns an object to a tap region. In this case, the group ID is actually. Sorry. You can make your own tap regions for whatever you want, and then you just give it a group ID. In this case, it uses the class name of editable text as its group ID, so you can extend this however you want. But yeah, tap region is the new this kind of new concept that they've now got in the framework. Gesture disambiguation, nearest ancestor, tap region surface, tap region surfaces that they're on tap inside, on tap outside, defer behavior. So they've actually, I like this. This is the stuff that I really like, that like I miss from other frameworks, right? Like this sort of, go on.
I have a very specific need for this, so this is amazing. Thank you. We've got a custom, text field kind of setup that's custom because they wanted it, how the hint floats up and the borders and the hovering. That's all custom. So I had to write my whole thing. And the problem is, in fact, there's a fair amount of stuff that's outside of the text field. But if you tap on it, it loses focus and comes right back. Because if you tap anywhere else on it, I brought it focused on the text field. So this is exactly what I need. It solves a problem that I've been too lazy to fix for the last year and a half.
I mean, there's also that thing that I think a lot of people don't realize you can do. If you have a text field, it has an input decoration that you pass it. The borders of a text field and the management of the borders of text field, like the error and the highlight and all this, is actually an input decorator. It's a separate widget. And input decoration by default is actually a blank object that it gets passed in. If you set it to null, it means render this text field without any decoration at all.
Right, yep.
And you can do that. And so if you want to have custom text fields, you can just pass null and then do whatever you want on the outside, and you're good.
And you have to pass the null. But the problem is, in fact, I had all the stuff on the outside like that. Like one of the things they wanted, which I don't know if it's still not possible in a normal one, but one of the things they wanted was normally if you float when the hint floats up to the value of the field or the hint floats up, it normally breaks the border up there, and they wanted it to stay inside the border. So they wanted to have it to where it was a custom behavior for that, and so stuff like that. That's why I had to do that. And so you pass the null for the decoration, and you control all of it.
The annoying thing is if you pass null. And that is, you don't get any padding around the actual input section. So if you tap, like if you put your decoration outside, you'll say, anywhere in my special decoration, I want to tap and get focus. You either do it yourself with your own focus node, or you can pass an input decoration with a content padding, which is how you get the padding on the inside. But then you have to then set your borders to empty borders and a bunch of other stuff. So that is another little annoying niggle there. But it's not,
Well, and in fact, that's my whole point. It's the fact that you tap out of it, it takes focus out of it, and you put it back. You send it back. And that, which is fine, but it's like, I believe that this tap region is going to solve that for me.
Yeah, cool.
It's amazing. So thank you. So sorry to derail the whole thing on my own stuff.
I did. No. But this is what we're here for. I think people find it stuff interesting. I didn't write it, so you don't say thank you to me.
Well, you brought it up though. I didn't know about it until you brought it up.
So this kind of brings up another thing. So I've got on my books. I mentioned this actually a couple of streams ago. I think it was with who was it? Oh, Kevin Moore. Was on the stream. That I really like Android's API diff. Basically, each time they release a new version of the Android API, they release a web page which shows all the things that have been added, all the things that have been removed, all the things that have been changed, down to level of like parameters, like every little thing that's like changed. So you can actually like filter down and find and go through. Oh, here's all the things that have been deprecated or been removed. Here's all the things that have been added. So you can keep up to date. Because right now, I just don't have enough time to keep up to date with the framework. It's just impossible. So I'm working on. I want to work on an actual website that will automatically, each time it will just do GitHub action to generate a new diff report, so everyone can see that. I think it'd be really helpful. All right. Anyway, moving on.
My own splash screen where I added some authentication, and I don't want the default screen with the app icon. Ooh.
You're talking about the Android default that now appears. You can actually turn it off, but that's just in the Android documentation. In fact, Flutter docs do link to it.
Yeah, I think they walk you right through it.
So I think that if I remember rightly, I'm not even sure. I think you can turn it off in the new one, but definitely on the Flutter one. Hang on, let me just bring this up. And I'll link the docs. So here's the docs link, and I'll bring this up on stream so everyone can see. Yeah. Adding an Android splash screen to your Android app.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the launch screen in that case.
Oh no, this is no. Oh no, this is it. So this is what happens on Android 12 is you get your icon in the middle of the screen,
right? Yeah.
And that's all part of Android 12 splash screens.
Yep.
Yeah, this is it. So basically, hang on, let's hit play. There you go. So you get this happen. Oh, sorry. Let me hide the question for a second. So basically, your app launches, and you get like a background and an icon before your app loads, and that's all part of this new sort of splash system that Google have made. I believe there's a way of turning it off, but I forget where that is. I know you can customize it. I mean, here's the thing: you can set the icon to white, and you can set the and you can set the background to white, and then you got white screen.
Yeah. There's been a few people that have posted like animating, creating the animated splash screen, right? Which is going from one screen to the next and how to do that. So, I mean, it could just be not getting rid of it, but transitioning from it to the one that they've created.
So it literally was like, so actually my talk in FlutterCon was covered this whole thing around the startup animation. So maybe go check out my FlutterCon talk. But there's lots of information online. I mean, this is how you do it. You actually edit these things here, these values inside your inside your theme. So your theme is the background color, branding image, screen behavior. There, if you prefer never to display an empty splash screen, always want an animated icon. I don't know. I'll let you read through it. But yeah, I mean, this is just the nature of, for example, let's say you're running this on let's say you're running your app on Windows, and Windows said, I'm always going to put the icon there. You can't do anything about it. Well, then you can't do anything about it, right? Like that's the way it works. So yeah, have a look at the Android documentation. But this isn't particularly a Flutter related issue. The way I would work this is transition from the default one. You can change the branding image so it's not your app icon that appears in the middle of the screen, and then have it transition into your own splash screen seamlessly. And you can do that. That's why I explained in my talk. So basically, you can transition to having the same image in the same place in Flutter, and then like a spinner underneath, or your progress, or whatever you are trying to do. Have you, Ezra, Daniel, have you ever played around with splash screens?
Okay, I was considering like if they're gonna do the changes, like either they're gonna show like an empty screen or something. But if they just play with Flutter native screen library.
Oh, there's a native splash screen library. Yeah, the Flutter native splash screen library.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Like, does that actually? Does this actually now support all of the new features? I have no idea. Android 12. There you go.
Yep.
Works differently than previous ones. Please see this guide. And there you go. You can just override the branding image and the background, and it just does it all for you, I guess. Well, there you go. I'll pop that in the chat. That might also be helpful. But to be honest, like whatever you do, you're still going to want probably to have a smooth transition. In which case, you get rid of there's a thing where you say you get rid of the animation that occurs, the default like fade animation, so it seamlessly transitions from one to the other. You can do that.
Yeah.
All right. I guess next question. Charles says, do you have any suggestion for a local database lib that has built in some features for online sync besides FireCell, or sync must be implemented from scratch?
And Randall was talking about that in the chat.
Yeah, he mentioned seeing like a package recently that does use like SQLite on one side and something else in the back end and syncs them.
And he was trying to. Oh, he's coming on.
Here
Now.
he is.
He was trying to find.
I can
I'll
go
never
ahead and
forget
speak
his
on it. Yeah,
package.
it's powersync.co. I got it a little bit later in the chat. I haven't played with it, but it looks really interesting. So what they're doing is they're using the write ahead or the write after log, WAL, whatever they called it.
Right, right. Oh, yeah.
To keep track of changes and then subscribing to that with a local SQLite database. And so you have offline and it syncs up when it's online, and it's got a Flutter package for it already. I haven't played with it. I've noted it for me going to go do some more research on it, but it looks like it might be a real interesting offline solution. So yeah,
Should I bring this up? I mean, we're not advertising it because we've not used it, but this is
and it's open source though, so it's good.
This is what it's just talking about. So yeah, like the idea of having your app and then your server side and syncing across, and it's all kind of magically done for you. I don't know. I like the problem I get with I get all these packages, but I want to look into them, make sure they're very flexible, because too many of these things you must do it this way, and then as soon as that happens and you want to extend past what is built into their framework, then you got a problem, right? And I don't know, it depends on what you're building, but for most apps something like this is probably fine. Yeah, there's also what was the database? What was the client-side database stuff? Oh, Randall's gone. I'm drawing blanks at the moment. Client-side database. What are the database solutions for Flutter?
You mean like ISAR or Hive or
ISAR? That's the one. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I told you.
I wasn't sure if that's where you were going.
I'm not functioning at all on 100% cylinders here today, right? Yeah, so ISAR. So this is a really nice cross-platform database solution that's supported on Flutter, Flutter and Dart, and you can see there's lots of really cool features. It doesn't do syncing though, but to be honest, syncing out of the box. I mean, syncing itself is not too difficult. I mean, you just have, on each of your objects, you can have a version flag and a modified flag. Has it been modified and what version it currently is? And then you sync it up with the server and which one's got the greater version wins or something like that. There's a couple of different simple algorithms you can run. So if your version is greater than one that's on the server, then it will save it, and otherwise you get sent back the most recent one. You just have a little sync function that you call that just sends all the data that's changed on device up to the server.
And another one of our Flutteristas organizers, Steph, I think she's got something, so she's trying to look it up. So she's got permission, it looks like, to share links, so she'll share it when she gets it. Or Drift is what she said.
Drift.
Oh,
So
yeah,
she's-
Drift, yeah.
Yeah.
Drift. for those that don't know, Drift is a pub package that started off as Room, or actually more to be specific. So there's a package on Android. You had SQLite for a long time, and to use SQLite was quite painful. So you ended up having an abstraction in front that became Room. Room was the name of this package that was on Android. Then when it came to Flutter, Simon Binder, the author of Drift, made a package called More, Moor, which is Room spelled backwards. And it was kind of like it wasn't the same as what Room provided. It was more than that, pun not intended. So it got a name change to Drift, and then that's where Drift comes from. So just in case anyone hasn't heard of it before, that's what it's all about. So.
And Steph shared the meetup where Valeria talked about that.
Oh, you did? Excellent.
Yeah, Steph shared that. So yeah. So thank you, Steph, for being on here.
Cool.
Also, while checking, I also see Couchbase Lite. It's also going for offline first Flutter apps using Couchbase Lite as a foundation. There's a CBL Flutter package published 2 months ago, and there's a DroidCon talk which been held in Berlin in this July. There's also a talk about it, building offline first Flutter apps with Couchbase Lite by Gabriel. You can also check that one.
I mean,
should I
pop it in the private chat? Yeah.
We'll share it.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like you mentioned this, because again, what was it? The offline first behavior is still something that a lot of apps just don't go for, which is a real shame. You know, like they're just not. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like they just don't think about offline. I'm kind of curious, actually. I'll throw this out to the group here. Like, how many of you have built offline first into your apps? Oh, we have 1, 2, 3 takers, 2 takers. Me too. That's 3 takers. But no, the point here is it's as a developer, it's super easy to be working on something on your local machine or laptop or desktop, having a good internet or Wi-Fi connection, and forgetting that as soon as you're on that wireless connection, as soon as you're outdoors, connections get really ropey very quickly. And, you know, you suddenly drop down to 2G or something, and it's like, oh, this is like Edge or something like that, like really low bandwidth, really low connectivity. And it's I actually mentioned this kind of interesting because I don't think a lot of people realize how Wi-Fi. I'm just going to just divert here for a second, but Wi-Fi wireless works by sending radio packets, packets of data using radio waves through the that's Wi-Fi. Now you can say that you're connected at 300 megabits a second, right? Or 600 megabits. That is your potential bandwidth to your router or to your hub. It doesn't mean that's what you can transmit and receive at, right? Because what happens is you may if you've got a really bad connection type, like really, should we say, let's say you've got some walls or some doors in the way of your router or whatever, and what's going to happen is that radio signal has to penetrate either through those things or bounce around them. Like that's what happens as well. They'll reflect off walls and so on. And in such a situation, you'll get corruption in the signal, especially when there's other electronic signals around, and then you'll get what's called a scrambled packet received by the other end, and then it has to be retransmitted. So what happens is you may be connected to 300 megabit, but if like 50% of all your packets have to be retransmitted, then you're only getting 150. I say only, it's still a lot, but this is the thing, right? Like that bandwidth, that 600 is shared between all devices on the band as well. So it's not just your device connected to 600, but it's all the devices connected to your router is at 600. So it's another sort of, it depends, but yeah.
And when you have multiple devices, the times that they actually transmit at the same time, they step on each other. That's a whole different mess that drops your bandwidth.
Yeah. That's another one. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have to negotiate who gets to actually control the wire right now or the wireless right now. You know.
So yeah, there's if anyone's actually interested in how it works, you call up QAM, quad amplitude modulation, is the technique that they use for broadband communications. But anyway, I digress. But I figure that like it's kind of interesting because we talk about all this kind of like when your phone goes out and how, you know, like I'm connected at 4G, but how come my connection is really bad? This is because it could be really bad and you're still connected to 4G, right? Like or 5G or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like so there's a difference between packet loss and connectivity. It's a good example. Sorry, another little example of this is like saying that your app detects connectivity to Wi-Fi, but your Wi-Fi may not be connected to the internet, right? It's the same problem of you can be connected to a high bandwidth like network. It doesn't mean that you actually got that the throughput to the internet, right? So
I was going to say, since I'm wearing my Firebase earrings, I should probably bring out that cached behavior is something Firebase gives you.
oh yeah.
When you do it, yeah, you get that. That's actually it's very much built with trying to keep your experience going, even if you're offline.
For sure.
And in the chat, Marco and Frey are both talking about this being a good thing, and Boolean too. Actually, Boolean, yeah. So
yeah. I did post that link earlier, the Couchbase Lite one, Ezra. You copy the link. It says opens a new tab. Just I think it's a bug in our streaming software because all the links I copied today have that. So I had to delete it. Anyway. So yeah, if anyone's interested, there's a great talk building offline talks first. Which apparently got mashed in with the other one. Look, this is wonderful, isn't it? It's all going right today.
Yeah.
Let me get that in the chat properly. Oh, see, it's just done it to me as well.
You got it again.
Yeah.
Opens in a new tab. Yeah.
It's working flawlessly today. The technology is brilliant.
there we go.
So anyway, let's should we let's see what else we got here. We did that one, right?
Yep.
Mytho on PWAs. Do they have any real benefits versus native apps?
Other than quicker
Everything.
to release because you don't have to go through a store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes because one of the things that I've told everybody before. Ours is a Flutter web app. It's not a PWA. It's a Flutter web app, but it really is an app. That we're doing, and the reason why it's an app is because people don't like to install apps on their devices for some reason. And so this lets you have both experiences going on right there.
Yeah, I think it depends. A good example of this is let's say you've got every coffee shop you went to, independent coffee shop, had its own app.
No.
I'm not going to go install an app in every single one of those coffee shops, am I?
No.
But if there was one product that all those coffee shops used, I might install that app because I'm not installing lots and lots of apps on my device, right?
Yeah.
So and that kind of aspect to this, right? That installing can have a negative connotation, but it depends on your product and your user base, right? For example, maybe something that's like a news reading app. Well, that's something that you're probably going to use every day from the same news companies. So therefore, that's probably something you're going to have installed, right? There's use cases here, but talking about that, like there's a lot of benefits for native app versus PWA. So we talked about earlier about geolocation now come to web. That's great, but it still doesn't give you the full spectrum of geolocation options.
Right.
Like it's super limited. And this same thing goes with lots of other things around the device, like sensor data and everything else. With the web platform, they have to look at the lowest common denominator that all the web platforms can support if they're going to make it. And even then, the device that you're running it on or the web view or whatever may not support it. So there is like definitive sort of like benefits and pros and cons to each different platform, right? It depends on the product. And I'd say it depends on the product that you're making. So, for example, we're just talking about like, again, like everything that you do inside a web platform is actually quite, you're limited to what the browser gives you. It's and that's very, you have no idea how limited that is until you start working it. When you start going out of that to native, you can do whatever code you want. whatever you can code up, make your CPU calculate. Yes, you can do it. That could be like always, C++ libraries and various other goodness knows what else. You want some AI stuff? Sure, just do that. Like you're not limited by what the platform gives you. So that's the kind of pros and cons. But again, it depends on what you're building.
Yeah, and I agree that there are lots of benefits to doing a native app over a web. Yeah. But the web app, like we've said, just to be clear, like what John said, which is an important point, is the fact that updating it's super easy. Making changes to it super easy. You get those. You don't need to worry about code push or new releases or the app store reviews or any of that stuff. So if you have to fix something, you can do it immediately. And then, like I said, also it's web, so there's less overall, because you don't have to install it as a web app. You can actually just run it on the web. At that point, and so there's less of that barrier to getting someone to actually using your app. Whereas if they have to go find it, install it, stuff like that, that could be a little bit different.
It's interesting that you say it, because like there is also that the barrier to entry thing is something that both stores have been trying to solve with I can't really call it quick apps or something on iOS, and the notion that you can like run an app without actually installing it, and then if you prefer to continue with it and have it installed, you can press like install on it, you keep it.
Yeah. It's I mean the stats from I don't know, the I/O we went to in 19, the stats from way back then, it was scary, like how little time people would wait for the app to install. And if it took longer than that, then they'd quit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of this is around app size. Like you see apps at like 120 megabytes. Like, why the hell is this thing like this huge ass size? Like it just blows my mind. I have an interesting stat for you. In 2014, when I was working on the BBC News app, I pushed the app down to 1.4 megabytes in release size. Like that was that was small then, but that was like Android 2 and 3 days, right? Like when it first came out.
A while ago, yeah.
So it was a while ago, but like you consider it back, like that was completely functional and everything else, and we realized so much less on the platform and a lot more shipped into the apps. There's a lot of code duplication. The one thing that mobile still has not worked around is libraries. So let me just give an example. This is for the audience really, but an example of how software works on desktop environments is that you ship your app and it has libraries. Those libraries are installed system-wide so that multiple apps can reuse the same code. The notion is that you don't have to read the app. Your computer does not have to load the same library multiple times for every application, or even store it on disk multiple times. So there's an optimization of memory and storage that takes place. It also means that the library can be updated independently of applications. So they're called dynamic libraries. There's lots of software that is delivered in those, like modules of applications delivered in these sort of libraries. Mobile, like put it this way, Flutter. Every time you release a new app, you're releasing Flutter as part of your application, right? Which is perfectly fine and reasonable. You get the most recent version of Flutter, but equally, another way of dealing with this in terms of distribution is that when a new version of Flutter happens, Flutter publishes a library to the app stores. And then whenever an app downloads to a device, if it needs that version of Flutter, it can download it if the device doesn't already have it. And this way, every app that installs on the phone does not have to include the Flutter library as part of it. And this goes with the Android support library. This goes with all of the different libraries apps now rely on. Like if every app has AI, every app has like an AI library chucked in it. It's like, how does that make sense? Right. Sorry, a little bit of a rant, I know, but it does annoy me a bit when we go backwards.
Yeah. I think there's stuff like that we could have with Flutter, with having stuff with CDNs and stuff, but people don't really use them in my experience. So we don't get the benefit, but I mean, it's kind of built in, ready for it.
I saw recently that in Flutter Build Web, it now says don't use CDNs as like an option. So I think they're adding CDN support to Flutter. I
know Kevin had told me about that at one point, that they were wanting to, make like the core libraries. They put them on a CDN, then it's the same thing. That and you get that for pretty much free. That if you're using that
First time only.
and someone else has already used it, you already have it cached. So
yeah. the first time someone uses that version of Flutter, it's downloaded in their browser, in their cache for every other person to use.
Right.
That's the nature of a content delivery network, CDN.
Yeah.
That's what the term is. It also downloads from the edge node that's closest to you, so you get to download it really quick compared to like
I mean,
transmit the data across half the world.
Right.
so I'm hoping we get there soon on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This next question. All right. When deploying web app with Firebase hosting, it asks configure a single page app. What is the difference? Put yes or no or both PWAs. So every time you go to a website, you have a URL at the top of the screen, right? So you have like your website name / and then different page names like /home / I don't know, African Ask Questions, product / iProduct ID, whatever. Each one of those is a different web page, right? That's the nature of that path gets sent to the web server, and the web server returns back a different web page. So what's a single page website is one that directs all of those URLs at the end to the very first page. And then the content on the first page decides what to show based on the URL. So this is what happens with Flutter. You put in a website address, it will return back index.html, the Flutter index.html, and then the JavaScript code looks at the browser URL and goes, okay, this is this page of your site, and then shows the content for that page.
Does all the
the answer
routing
is
for you. Yeah.
does all the routing for you. So it's not in traditional sense. In this traditional sense, you would normally make for each request that happens in your browser would be making to the would go to the server and make a download of a different content. In modern applications at client side, it all happens on the client side. It doesn't have to download each page separately. So the answer is yes, you do want to do it if you're doing a Flutter web app, and the answer is yes, both are PWAs. Sorry, is there anything you want to add to that? Anyone? Sorry, I kind of like just blaze that because I hear this question quite a lot. Like it's there's some great knowledge out there. It might be worth like for people that don't understand the stuff. Like we use websites all the time and web tech, but it's really good to go look up what HTTP is, how it works, what the standards are. There's like just reading a couple of wiki pages on Wikipedia would get you a lot of knowledge very quickly. And then you can start experimenting. Like Dart has inbuilt HTTP clients, HTTP servers, and all sorts. Anyway, all right. Callan, what good approach for app? What good approaches for app use website content? Often they're serving entries from database, WordPress, Drupal, serving up content in app from single source of truth. Anything to add?
I don't know if I understand it enough to.
Yeah. That's right.
I mean, I wholeheartedly support single source of truth.
Oh yeah.
I
think that the concept can be overused, but I get the meaning here. I think the point here is what good approaches are there for app development for using website content
in their app,
in their app.
Right.
So there's a couple of ways of doing that. I mean, the problem here is website content. It has always been a problem in all app development, right? Because websites are built using markup. Markup has been augmented in recent years with CSS and lots of other things that make it very, very complicated.
Yeah.
And not just very complicated to write, but actually very complicated to interpret and to display, meaning that browsers and the tech that displays websites is actually very heavy. So for most content you want to download to an app, if you're just trying to display, here's some text, here's some bold, here's some underline, here's some headings, here's some, bullet points. A better system than having HTML is to have Markdown or some other simplified, system of display of stylized content, not necessarily fully HTML standardized content, right? If you do want full HTML, then your only option is display in a web view inside your app, which you can do, but obviously that has its also downsides and limitations as well. So it's a good approaches. I mean, just yeah, I mean, as you said there, often is a search from content from a database, WordPress, Drupal. I mean, WordPress has WP-JSON API. Drupal has APIs for return about JSON content. Yeah, just call the APIs, get your content down, and then you pass it in out. With whatever the content format may be. I did actually do I was a bit dismayed about the HTML view libraries that are on the apps on the Flutter pub.dev. I did actually make one myself. Let me see if I can find it. I thought I published it. I should really make a package from it, but you know, when do I have time? 4 months ago, last active. There you go. I'll pop this up on chats for anyone to have a look at. Let's hide the question. So yeah, static HTML view. There you go. 2019. I've been using this since then. And yeah, you just stick a widget in and give it the HTML and the base URL, base style sheet. And when a link is tapped, it will call the callback. Nice and simple. And this is about, I think it's 200 lines. Something like that. Oh yeah, 421 lines. Oh, I lied. But anyway, 400 lines. And that does all your basic parsing of all your basic headers and everything else. So
have you tried Contentful?
Contentful. No. But yeah, this I just briefly mentioned. Yeah, so this does parsing of the HTML, is part of the like widget tree properly, and then when it does actually return the content, if I can find it, it has scroll to anchor and a bunch of other little silly things. Here we go. Uses the standard DOM stuff from the HTML parsing library, and it just builds a widget tree based on the visitor pattern.
Yep.
So it's pretty straightforward. It uses for most of it, it uses text spans, widget spans, and does all the formatting. It supports tables, headings, like I don't know, a bunch of stuff. I mean, I don't need to go through it, but yeah, it's worth checking out something like this. I've not looked to see how it passes things, but it does a little bit of syntax. So headings, I think it does. I think remember it does some colors and some other various things like that. I forget. So apologies, but yeah, UL, AL, href. But I mean, like something like that is quite straightforward. You're asking Contentful. Is that like a pub package, or is that just...
Contentful is actually a CMS, like headless content management system.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, you can your PM or marketing person, whoever person, they can also like do the changes, and you will just show it in your app.
Yeah, I mean,
super easy.
It's kind of interesting. Like you talk about this because I used to use like WordPress, Drupal, and lots of other like from that perspective of not just display inside the app. So that's where I was picking this up from. But from the server side, I don't think it's even needed anymore, if I'm honest with you, because from a developer perspective, throwing together a simple application to manage content is super easy. Like, you know, if you're not talking about like an end user, you're talking about just an admin app with Flutter. You can just like throw your own admin app together to call the APIs that you have, or to edit Firestore data directly, and like you don't have to deal with like configuring a Drupal server and like dealing with Python and all this other stuff, and you can reuse all the same models. I find that like an easier way to go. I mean, have you ever done a CMS or admin software in Flutter? Is that anything that you guys have done?
No.
I think it worked out in the quite a few times I've done this. It's actually worked out like a really nice way of dealing with it. Anyway, all right. What's next on the list? Hopefully, I answered your question, Ken.
He said it was very inspiring. He actually did say on there. He said that was very inspiring, Simon.
Oh, good.
So yeah, and then and just for whatever it's worth, Steph was talking a little bit about how we're dealing with our Flutterista database or our Flutterista website and how it's being served and stuff. And so I begged Steph to come on and maybe say a couple words about what we're doing. Everybody, this is Steph. She's another one of our Flutterista organizers, and I'm so happy that
impromptu.
I'm taking over the show, basically, Simon.
Go for it.
What am I supposed to be talking about?
How we're dealing with the content on the stuff.
So on the Flutterista website, we cloned what Simon did when he helped me with my website. And then since then, we've added the content for our Flutterista conference. It was just published like while you guys were talking. And all of that content is coming from Firebase real time. The images are coming from Firestore, and our the whole site is built using Jasper and Dart. And Farah did an amazing job. It looks really great. So it's far better than our old website that we used with. I don't really want to bash them. I mean, it was still a decent thing, but I mean, it's far better than what we have now. It's quicker to do a turnaround. We can do what we want. I highly recommend it. I learned a lot when I took what Simon helped me with, and then I created a whole bunch of templates and various things that we did for our website. And then the designer took that and then Flutteristas did it and then put different things in there, and she's done a great job.
All right, and then on top of that, Simon, will you promise to get a hold of Steph as soon as we're done with this update?
Yes.
Dude, I've been trying to talk to you for days. I have a recording I have to do this afternoon, and you got to teach me how to do it.
Yes.
Otherwise,
time.
Sumi, if you're out there, you and Ali are going to have to wait.
Blame it on me. It's fine. Anyway,
it's
all right.
all Simon's fault. So I'm going back to my day job. It was great seeing you all. At least I wasn't in my pajamas. So I could go on. I'm in my Stop Bad Data t-shirt. So I'm going to go fix some bad data. Bye.
Right. See you later. Bye, Steph.
Bye.
Thanks, Steph.
Do you know why
All right.
this started?
I love this
Color on
question. I don't know
iOS?
the answer, but I love this question.
Well, I think the answer. I mean, none of us are Google folks, but I believe the answer is that they started on iOS to try and solve the jank issue, right? I mean,
yeah,
that existed on the iOS side, but not on Android.
So when Flutter first came out, it was working with OpenGL on both platforms, and that worked wonderfully. Then iOS released a platform called Metal, which is the underlying like graphics system, and it did not work so well on Metal. And they got working with it, so it would continue, but it had what we call jank issues, which are basically dropped frames, and it meant that it just wasn't that good to use a Flutter application on iOS. So the aim was that internally there was like, okay, just be clarified, we have Flutter t-shirts, we do not work for Google, right? There's everyone here, there's all community, right? However, we do anyway. So from my understanding is that the team themselves were trying to find a solution to that, and in doing so, they realized they'd be better off rather than trying to work with their own team for Skier and working with Skier, because Skier is quite got a very large surface area because it's used in lots of different platforms and technologies, not just Flutter. It made sense to go, okay, let's just take a small subsystem, a small portion of this surface area that we use to build Flutter apps and use that, because Flutter already depended on other libraries for parts of its graphics system. So the notion of Impeller came from a lot of research they did on that, a lot of performance research to understand the nature of what would need to be solved to solve the jank problem on iOS in regards to like pre-compiling shaders and lots of other complex low-level graphics system stuff that I'm not going to go into. Anyway, so that's why it was started on iOS, because, and then here's the next thing, because they already have the Android knowledge, right? Because they already have that knowledge of the Android, they go, okay, we're going to build this for iOS, knowing that, okay, we can port this to Android without any, direct, big issues, basically. We know that we can do a direct port and it's not going to like cause us lots of grief. So what we'll be seeing now that Impeller is in the hands of iOS, and it has been for some time, not just in beta, but now released fully, is that we'll now be seeing that coming out to Android on a pretty fast basis. I feel like I'm speaking for the team, but that's my general understanding of it. So,
Well,
hopefully soon. TM.
And kind of a little bit of history, you know, like how we always get the questions about, you know, ChatGPT, or, you know, we were, you know, there's certain state management packages we used to always hear about, you know, stuff like that. If you're around 2, 3, 4 years ago, anytime, especially if there's a Googler on, one of the first questions would be, what about the jank on iOS? And so it really was an issue. And the problem is it wasn't an issue. It was a lot of issues. There were lots of reasons there was jank. And so they would solve one and people would run an app. They'd say, well, no, it's still janky. You didn't solve anything. Well, no, they've made it better. But and so that's why the necessity was there to try to do something to make that work, because, you know, that's important.
Yeah, so anyway, I think from my point of view, that's where it comes from.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think there's any, like, just because you're building something for one platform doesn't, like Flutter itself is multi-platform, right? So starting on their own platform, yes, okay, makes sense, but also doesn't make sense because the problem is not their own platform, right? The problem space they're trying to fix is something else, is the iOS platform. So
yeah.
All right.
John's got to go, and John, my hour and a half is up too. So I'm going to see if I can make Astro laugh here. I'm going to say I have to run.
Well, we only have a few more questions, so let's see how this goes.
Hey, we got one more
Randall back in.
One more question.
I might as well get back in then if you guys are leaving. So thanks for being on the show.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Last question.
All right. So next question. What new features you wish Flutter team should introduce for the next major Flutter release version? Someone asked this question at F3.
Bitcoin mining for me. I'm saving up all my jokes because I was backstage, so you know I had to. Now I've got to use at least 2 or 3 more jokes to make up for the.
Run everyone. So
yeah.
No, I was gonna say that. Obviously, for me, like for those that don't know, I was doing lots of stuff with 3D and Flutter, doing my rendering engine, and the whole work with Impeller. I just put it on hold. I put it on hold. It was 21. I don't know. It's been a year, maybe a year and a half now. And I just put it on hold because it was like, there's no point me continuing that effort when the work that I'm doing is going to be replaced or needs to be replaced. So I put it on hold. So for me, the next thing I really want to see is 3D coming out with Flutter, and it'll be coming soon. TM once Impeller is at the right place where you can start doing that, and then we'll start seeing 3D within our Flutter applications.
Well, trying to imagine what nav bars and app bars are going to look like in 3D if we're going to start having that as the core operating system. Like, where does back take you?
Which
direction back?
Do we think you download an app? You download an app and you get sent one of those like blue and red lenses, so you can have like stereoscopic apps jumping out at you like in 3D.
Yes, reach out to grab the icon that you want to move to. Oh yeah, it's all, look, hey, the movies are showing it already, so it must be happening sometime in the future. It's just a matter of time. Like everything else in movies have come true, so that's got to be the next thing.
What's the other one? Like you have a glass. It's just like a sheet of glass that has all your whole sort of phone on it or something.
Well, the stuff that's in midair always got to me. Like, well, how is it interacting with anything in midair?
Have you actually seen Leap Motion? You should check out Leap Motion. I actually had a chance to develop with some of that stuff, and it is really amazing. They do it's like a infrared, like the Kinect, like an infrared scanning thing. You can actually put one of these like little boxes down in front of your computer, like in front of your computer screen, and you can actually manipulate stuff in 3D in front of your computer screen, which is super. I guess it's super niche. It's super cool, but it's also niche for depending on what you're doing, right? Like, but if you work with 3D, it's perfect.
I'm still thinking though that like the displays that are in just midair. It's like no, we need a medium to project onto. Maybe that's going to be the use for dark matter. When we finally figure out what dark matter is, it'll end up being a projector screen for holographic displays. There, mark my words. I predicted large language models 30 years ago and didn't cash in on it. I'm predicting this now, and I'm probably not going to do anything with it either. That's just the story of my life.
Has anyone seen those new the new dial inputs? Like they're like a circular thing that you can twist.
Yeah.
So you can just have it on a desk, and you can just you
like
can
like a Bell 103 headset, a Bell 103 handset.
No,
with a rotary dial.
Yeah, well, no. Hang on, let me see if I can get this up here. I seem to remember.
No. Everything old is new again. Lovely.
There's these kind of things like there's lots of them, right? But they actually like you can put it on your screen, and then it knows where it is in physical space and can like interact with the video on the screen.
Oh yeah, I know these.
But there's some of these that now work in 3D. So you actually like lift them up and like bend them, like they're like a little joystick thing.
There's a reason light pens never caught on. And that's that people found that holding the light pen to touch things on the screen was a lot of work. And it wasn't until we figured out that a mouse down by our side is probably a lot better. Although I haven't used mice. I haven't used mice in years. I've used trackpads for everything. So I remember the rollerball though. The rollerball was fun too.
I know what I need to leave everyone on the chat with when we end the stream.
Okay.
There is a video called "The Mother of All Demos."
Oh yes, put that there. Yes. Oh, that's such a classic. That is a classic. And that was done not by the computer science group. That was done by the architecture group. That's the most brilliant part of the subtext of that video.
So for those that don't know, the research center of augmented human intellect, Douglas E. Engelbart. It was 1968. It's black and white. I won't bother like bringing it up on. I don't think I can. Can I bring it up the stream? I could bring it up the stream.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
No, I won't bring it up like this, but I'll just see if I can just briefly show this on screen here.
Yes, right.
So it's 1968, but this guy Douglas, he actually shows using a mouse. This is all graphics drawn by a computer in 1968, and he's using a mouse and coded key input to manage this hypertext interface. This was like the future, and it's what we have now, but predicted back then. And we're just talking about future predictions. That is like, honestly, when you look at it, you go, what he's talking about. Okay, not everything came to fruition, but it is simply amazing. It really is for the time. I absolutely amazing. Anyway, I'll put that in the chat for anyone that wants to watch it later. Don't leave us now, though. All right. Is there anything
that's different than the one I had? Hold on. No. Let me just a second here. Just a second. Stop here. I hate it when you pull something up on YouTube and it starts playing. But this video has put that there, which is the one I thought you were going to bring up. This one, if you haven't seen, is amazing. Put that there.
Put that there.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat. That one is phenomenal, and also talks about this sort of human, basically hand interactions, using the hand as a pointer to describe operations on a screen. I'm sure you've seen it, but maybe you don't know it by that name.
Oh, LIT research. Yeah.
This one's wonderful.
Yeah. I wonder how many. Yeah. I wonder how many of. Oh look, wow! Someone's done a remaster. Hang on, I got to put this in the chat. Someone's done a remaster of the Douglas Engelbart video, like using AI.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's so much better quality. That's ridiculous.
Oh,
cool.
1080p.
Good.
1968 video. Anyway,
Wow.
I might have to check that out. But anyway, so back to Flutter and stuff. There's actually some videos called the Mahogany Staircase. Have you seen that, Randall?
Yeah, I think so. Because because it's talking about the rendering pipeline in Flutter, I think, at some point, right?
Yeah, right. Here it is here. So I'm going to share this in the chat and I'll bring this up on stream. Let's see. So this by Ian Hickson, the lead engineer on the framework.
Hixie.
Yeah, look, 2016. I watched this back in the day. But this is like going through the underlying system architecture of Flutter way back when it first came out and how it all works. It is absolutely interesting, and that's just one of many awesome videos. There's a couple of them that were back in the days. There was also one. Was it Google Tech Talk Sky, something like that? It was one that let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, there's definitely some early videos. I remember seeing a few of them over time.
See if I can.
Did I bookmark them all?
Here we go. I found it. Flutter's rendering pipeline. Adam. Oh, it's Adam. Did it. Sorry, this is the other one. Flutter's rendering pipeline. Adam Barth. Yeah, this is again one of the early ones where it talks about how this is obviously going to be, if it ever loads, it would actually be pretty obscure now that because of the way that let me pause it. Yeah, I'll pop both in the chat for anyone that wants to for future content. But it's obviously Impeller kind of, it still kind of stays the same with the different layer trees. Yeah, no, that's a lot of it. So, but a lot of the details may change under the hood if it's talking about the lower levels of the architecture, basically. But yeah, two definitely good videos that I would recommend if you're looking at the inner workings of Flutter and you're interested in that kind of side. Watch both of those. But you remember that just remember they are marked by age. They're not new content. So
like everything else in the Flutter world, it's already outdated.
It was outdated a month after it came out.
Exactly, it always is. That's crazy. That we did actually have in the chat room. They pointed out that lints has just been updated. We might want to look at the new lints. Yeah, it just came out like an hour ago. This is the standard package that everybody's pulling in to get the recommended lints that are turned on. They've turned on a bunch of new ones. The Flutter lints.
No, not Flutter. No, okay.
Lints. It's the package called lints. It's in pub.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
I know. You're really fast. About the moment I say something, you're already bringing it up on screen. I don't know how you do that. Yes. No, not that one. Well, that one's no.
This is what I was going to say. I know. This is what I was going to say. So the Flutter lints package has not been updated, but the Dart lints package has 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Official lint rules. So does it? Do we actually? Don't
the change log? Look at the change log. Change log's useful. Look at all the things they changed. And the reason it's 3.0 is because it might tell you your program is broken when you didn't before, which is probably a good thing then.
Collection. It's secure PubSpec URLs. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I wonder what they do. It should be some way to see the changes in. Did they ever get all the links linked finally? Because it used to be a search for them because there was no link to it from anything that I could recognize on API.
Move list of rules from the README to a separate rules MD. There you go.
Ooh.
If it has Dart fix, what it does.
Nice.
So
that's good.
What was that? What was I saying? PubSpec. Is that in there? It's not in there. Oh no, I misspelled.
Secure PubSpec URLs.
If you spell it right, it's in there.
URLs in PubSpec. Yeah, I see. It's not.
What if you click on it? Does it tell you?
Oh, look, there's actually a link to the.
Yeah, this is the doc that I could never find except every once in a while, accidentally by Googling.
linter rules. No, they did used to have it. It was on a separate web page, and then they added it to the docs without telling anyone. That's where you can't find it, because now it's part of the this page here has all of the documentation in that's previously on a different website.
Right.
So this is all the possible linter rules.
So what is that pub spec one? Did you pull it up yet?
The pub
Do we know
spec
what it
one.
does?
Oh yeah, well it just
The one
says
you were looking for.
you secure your URLs. So basically, I think this is just saying that you need to use like HTTPS rather than HTTP.
Ah, it's just
Not
S.
like, I mean, it's nice. Like that makes sense, I guess.
Get your S in there. Get your S in there.
Does anyone
All right.
actually use HTTP URLs anymore? I don't know.
I do, because it's one letter shorter.
No wildcard variable.
I don't care if there's a redirect. I just type it without the S, and I just let it redirect to the one with the S. Yeah, that's me. I'm lazy. I'm at one S lazy. I have a lazy S. I got to get all my dad jokes in a short amount of time. You guys are just getting it concentrated. That's all.
Wait, what? Underscore. No, you use these underscores will become non-binding in future versions of the Dart language.
Ooh.
You're getting rid of them.
Ooh. So, what do you do with that then? How do you make them? Oh, you use patterns, recommending patterns instead.
Wait, what? It's saying this is good, but these don't relate. These are not the same.
Oh, it's if you actually use the underscores, because soon those actually won't bind.
Oh, wait.
I get it.
There's two underscores being used here.
Yeah.
I see. So basically, it's saying that two will never be bound into this because this is like ignored. So therefore, it's not actually being used in a variable on purpose.
Existing code works like that, and that's why they have to start linting it to let people know that that's deprecated.
Yeah.
Mm.
So for those that don't know, you can put your local variables that you want to, local parameter names that you want to ignore as underscores. But what it's actually doing is actually making a variable called underscore, and you just don't use it. But basically, what it's saying here is that that's actually not required anymore, and instead you use your patterns to do it. Yeah.
Scroll up. It says something about Dart 3.10. Look, Dart up a little further. Right there. 3.10. They're pre-announcing 3.10. It must be coming out soon.
Well, no, wait.
Is it already? Is that already? Hold on. Let me look. It might be out already.
Are we on like Dart 3.13? I don't know what we're on now.
We're on 3.0 still something, but the beta has Dart 3.2 already. 3.1 came out 2 months ago in beta.
Yeah, no. August 16th, 3.1.
Oh, stupid me. All right, I'm turning in my GDE card now. That's it. I'm no longer a GDE. Apparently, I've completely lost the expertise.
You got me going there for a second. You definitely got me going there for a second. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
What have I been working with all this time? Yeah. Okay. What else was in that list? Use the super pro. If no one's actually been doing this, I want us to show this one. It's still marked as experimental on the website, but it's no longer experimental. Apparently, it's right now recommended.
Okay.
But if no one's been doing this is how you would normally do super, like call your super methods and constructors and various other things. You use the super term, but
that's
now
so 2021 now. That is so 2021.
So now instead of doing this kind of thing, you can now do super.x instead of this.x. You go up to the top. It's so much nicer. Like you just get rid of this whole boilerplate, and just do this, right? So super nice. Super parameters. Right. Prefer equals to default values. Dude, do you remember using colons for see this is going to show my age.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, it's removed now. Do you remember doing? Hang on a minute. This used to be how you used to specify parameters, name parameters with a colon, the default value for it. And it was super confusing. So now they decided doing equals. Both were optional. Now they're saying you can no longer use the colon. Right.
That's good.
So they're basically saying that this is. I mean, removed. So it's you can no longer. I think it's 3.1. They can't do it anymore or something like that. But yeah.
For void to null.
Removed. What was that one? Oops, too far. Don't use null type unless you're positive that you don't want void. Oh, yeah. So bad. Don't use the actual null type. Use void. Yeah.
Did people do that? I've never seen that.
There was a time when that's why they removed that. I don't think you can use it now.
Okay.
It was in Dart 2.
The golden era. back in the day.
I don't know if I'd say that.
Steam powered Dart compilers.
Dude, that's Dart 1. That's Dart 1. Implicit terraform call methods. Yeah, no, I like this. So you can have. So for those that don't know, you make a call method like this in a class, and it becomes what's called a callable class. It means if you construct one of the classes, you can actually like call it like a function, and it will call this call method for you, like when you do it. Basically, they're saying now that you should do .call where possible, which is basically the same thing, but you're being explicit that you're calling the function for a callable class. Because the reason why you had to callable class in the first place is because we didn't have tear-offs. Now we have tear-offs, we can actually pass a function as a reference, and therefore callable class is not necessarily a thing anymore. So I totally get it. And it also means more explicit because honestly, the only way that you know that's running a function is because it's called callable.
Yes.
Right. It's not obvious. Like callable function. I don't like callable classes for that very reason.
I need to introduce my underscore class. Just the class underscore. Then you could really do some clever stuff. Underscore pren as a callable. No. Okay, don't do that.
Okay, yeah, I see that. They're basically saying you can't have like global dangling comments that don't link, because you can't comment and import, right? And this is not linked to the class because it's not. There's a gap between, right? So these are like global dangling comments. Instead, you should be commenting a blank library tag at the top to indicate that these are global comments for the library. What happens in the docs is that this actually becomes a page. Let me see if I can find one for you. If I go to 132 is doing it.
And we're getting close to wrapping up. So if you have any questions, get them in.
Yeah, get your questions in now.
And then we'll take out whatever we have coming up. We have 0 questions in the queue, which is why we're talking about lints.
So so if you notice here, if I go to any one of these libraries, let's say Wintop 2, this piece up here at the top above all the classes is actually documentation that's stored out by one of those comments. So these are the comments that are actually above your library tag. So they get put into the thing. This is also new for those that don't know. You can actually add topics, and each one of those topics can also have some documentation as well.
Cool.
And each one of those gets a tag as well. So when you're looking at stuff, so they're adding they're improving the documentation. There's also ways to slide in Markdown, a few different ways. I forget how, but I don't know. Was there any of those other lints that we missed that were actually any good?
I don't know. Well, I have to compare this now to what very good analysis is, because I've been recommending that strongly and using it as sort of my default thing to add. Very good analysis is great because it turned on pretty much everything, and everything that didn't conflict. So I've been using that for unrelated types.
Invocation of various collection methods with arguments of unrelated types. Okay. Doing this will invoke equals. Should be related to E. Right. It's based. It's just enforcing. It's enforcing the type, right? So, for example, here you've got a set of int. You can't do remove and then a string.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Right? Like this is like it stops. It's the lint check that just stops the silliness from happening, right?
That's the thing about the linter, is it does actually sort of make you a better programmer if you pay attention to it. And The projects I've seen that have turned off a ton of lints are usually the ones I don't want to be editing. It's going to be crazy cray stuff in their code because they've had to turn off the lints in order to get the stuff to accept the way that they've written it. Ugh. We do actually have a question, so we can get to that eventually.
Hang on.
Execution.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that's not possible. You can't. That num is a type. Your X is not likely a type.
Right, but okay,
So
okay, I get that. I get that. It's basically stopping people from testing the wrong thing by mistake, right?
Yeah, because you need num underscore or num paren or something. One of the two. What if num paren works because there's no constructor for num? I think it's just the name.
Oh, look at that. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Whoa, so case constant.
Yeah, so if you did actually mean to test the type, you do it with a constant of the type. That's interesting. Oh, because that pattern matches. Yes, you're saying X is a constant of type int.
So that was
So this is a pattern match of the type. Right.
This would be good if you have like you want to do user level dispatch on a generic like T, and you want to say given T, is it an int, is it a string, is it a list, and you can do that kind of pattern matching on T, which I've done to try to explain to people that even though we don't have generics on statics, it's a way of getting around it, but you have only a limited number of choices, of course, whatever you built into the switch. Everybody seems to want dispatching on statics. I don't. Must be other languages do that. Dart definitely doesn't.
Oh yeah, there are, but it's just stupid.
Yeah, people want things.
I mean, this. So here's the thing, right? Like when you're programming, right? You can but you can make software do whatever you want, right? Like given like this, we see this with C and C++. Like you can do absolutely ridiculous things with the code, right? But does that actually make good code? No. So it's like I'd rather have a language that says do these defined things in this way, and if the language needs to be used in a certain way to it, like you're actually the language is working against you, then you're like, okay, well, add language features to do it, not just like give you the broadest scope possible of possibilities that you can do and shoot yourself with the foot in. Like I feel like there's definitely a balance between those two sort of aspects of what's the word?
When I was teaching
development versus and shooting yourself in the foot. Like there's this.
When I was teaching Perl, which gets a somewhat undeserved reputation as being a write-only language. Come on, if you know the language, it's not bad. If you don't know it, it looks like chicken scratch. I agree. But if you know the language, it's all pretty readable, except that there were so many things you could do that would make it harder to read. And in our class, we used to say, don't do silly things like else unless, which you're allowed to do. It's like, okay. And don't do those because the maintenance programmer is going to hate you, and because of Git now, we know exactly who added that stupid line, right? But also the maintenance programmer might be you at 2 a.m. 3 months from now, where the production system went down because of some stupid thing you did 3 months earlier. Now you got to reconstruct in your head, why the heck did I write it this way? And so that it's, be thinking that you are writing to yourself 3 months from now when you're in an entirely different state of mind. And that will change or influence or at least inform the way you're going to be coding. To design it for you 3 months from now.
I just on this topic before we get to the final couple of questions here. Sure. Has anyone actually heard of this? The International Obfuscated Code Contest. So basically, the idea is how can you make like the smallest, what's the word? The smallest piece of code that's the most obscure to do something really cool. I don't know. So
there have been incredible
winners.
One of the early years, somebody wrote a maze generating program that was designed as a working maze. Yeah, the source code was actually a maze. It was great. And then you run the code,
I'm trying
and
to
it
find-
generates other mazes.
I wonder if it's like the best. Is there like the best IOCCC?
They're all best. Every year, they're all winners.
Oh yeah, hang on.
Every year. Somebody
just
once
want to say-
joked that Larry Wall won the contest one year by submitting the source code to Perl. But no more bad Perl jokes, please. I'm no longer in that arena.
It's got to be like
Actually, Larry did win it once, but that's a totally unrelated part of the joke. Yes.
I just wanted to see if there's a nice like example of some of them on here, but honestly, we start looking at some of these like most enigmatic, most phony, most perspective. Star Wars crawler, yeah. So is this probably does like the Star Wars text, like the 3D text. And when you actually look at like the program, that's it. That's the entire program.
Right.
Wow.
I forgot to show you what the actual source code looks like. Sorry, this is the source code that's been absolutely obfuscated to the nth degree. But this does like a galaxy far away, maybe like scrolling text in a terminal or something. So most enigmatic. I've known this a lot.
You could never do this for Python. Python resists being obfuscated.
But you could just run these. Like it gives you the instructions to run them. Like audio encoder, image segmenter, MIDI improver, pin protection,
Most
program
percussive.
Snake game. So yeah, so here you go. Here's a snake game.
Oh.
Wow.
But yeah, it tells you on here like how you can to use it, to run it or whatever, and then there might be a lot of notes in why did you do it like this and so on. But
wait, is this true? Is this true? Did we see this
asteroids?
a year ago?
Asteroids. There's asteroids.
No. Yeah. Oh, did we see you do this a year ago?
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah. It was a while.
Right. I've lost track of it. It's more than 2 months ago. I don't remember now.
I'm gonna say it was some time ago, but yeah, like compile and run. I don't know. Like it gets really complicated. But anyway, some of them are really like absolutely crazy. Like when you look at like some 3D maze game in like 600 bytes. Yep.
It's clever stuff. We've got a few more questions, then we should probably stop questions just to get through the one we got. Now there's a temperature sensor. You could use it to measure temperatures, I guess.
Smart home automation.
Is it a temperature sensor of the chip inside, or is it the temperature sensor of ambient? How would it know the ambient?
It's probably ambient, right?
It is ambient, as I know, and as I know, it is not allowed to use on kind of humans thingy. There was a thing like legally you cannot use it for doing your body temperature. I remember something like that, but I'm not sure whether it's updated yet. But you can measure how hot your water or coffee is, and what it can be used also is like you can also. There are some teams that using apps to get scientific examples and gathering data, and they can also use it for measure samples and so on. This is what I actually had in mind when I just read about it.
Cool.
But mostly I would go for automations.
Do you know what I really want? I want a camera that can show me the electromagnetic spectrum, like not just the visible spectrum, but like just imagine you could see Wi-Fi signals around you. That would be so cool. Like, oh look, it's busy over there. There's a free band over here.
Well, they're doing things. They're using
your spot where to sit at home.
Yeah. They're doing things where they're using Wi-Fi to actually see who's on the other side of walls and stuff. So there is that kind of surveying already being done. We're
visually, like because
they map it to a visual.
Yeah, map it to a visual thing, because like you talk about like it's a kind of interesting thing. You talk about like like what's it called, infrared cameras, right? And the heat vision cameras, and that's a whole new spectrum. You can't see that, but suddenly you put the camera on there, you're seeing a whole different set of senses, but visually, that is just amazing tech right there. And then you think about, can you apply that to other things around you, like not just like temperature, but like, that's kind of like interesting. Like,
Cool.
I was trying to explain to my nephew, like my little nephew, like that there's air all around, like in the air, there's molecules all around us, like we're like swimming through, like swimming through the ocean. We're swimming through air. And it's, but there's that it's something that you can't see, but it's perceptively there, right? It's kind of interesting. Anyway,
when your nephew understands that we are actually something close but holding each other, like little atoms that touching, but you are not actually one.
I was gonna say, it's when you try to explain that most of solid things is actually no mass at all, and that it's air. Most of like there's nothing there. Doesn't compute. Like this is solid, but it's like nope, it's not really solid. That would be like we'll be like really old people, and they'll be like telling us all about quantum stuff, and we're like, I don't believe you. Right.
That's summing up all of science right there. Climate change, what's that?
Exactly.
It's just a little warm. It's getting a little warmer. That's all.
All right. It says code generation syntax seems so different to Dart, which reads well and logical. Instead, we have random stuff like, is there an easy way to understand or remember just googling example each time? I'm not sure I'm following. Sorry.
I'm not
either.
You
mean the output of code generation.
Right.
That's because that was chosen as the output. It's not when you generate code, you don't have to do it like that. It's just
you also have to make sure that for every input identifier, if you need an output that's different, it has to be different also from almost any other likely identifier. And $$ happens to have that convenient thing of just being so weird that people probably aren't putting it in their code, but there is no reserved namespaces at all. Yeah. You could just have a program that has class $, perfectly legal.
Yeah.
Not recommended.
Your generate code can just be the same code you would normally write. There's no you have to have random stuff, as you say, like this, right? The only reason that the generate code has $$ is because, as Randall said, it's not a namespace that people put in like in their normal programs. Like most people don't start all their variables with $$. It's perfectly legitimate Dart to do that, and that's why the code generators do it, right? And when it comes to like variable names, because it's generate code, you normally generate the variable names, and they'll be based on like the scope, like the class and the function name and various other things to kind of get a unique variable name that they might need to use. But equally, it could just be X followed by a number, and every variable is just a number differently.
What's that package that has like all the ASCII characters is like $FIVE and $SIX?
ASCII.
Is that ASCII? Is that the pub ASCII?
Oh no, charcode. Sorry, charcode. I lied. Charcode.
No, really? No. It's the one that has the symbols.
Yes, charcode.
Charcode has that? Oh yeah.
This one, charcode. Is it charcode? No, wait, what? No.
I don't think so. Wait. Oh, predefined constants. Right.
No, it's not. It's a Dart package. Wait, what?
ASCII.dart defines small. ASCII.dart in the charcode package.
Yeah, but there was actually, I thought there was a Dart package charcode. I don't remember it being by a third party. Hang on.
It's not third party.
Well, why am I looking at here? Charcode.
Yeah, but look who the publisher is.
Yeah, it's not. It's Infini something.
Oh, okay.
DK.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, there's something that's in the core, right? There's something in the core somewhere. Where the heck is it?
I can't for the life of me remember. I literally.
Good. It wasn't just me.
No.
It wasn't just me. I remember it. It was somewhere. Where is it?
I swear it was called charcode, but maybe not.
Not characters. That's not it. It's the one that does the Unicode correctly. Where did I? Because it's on API Dart.dev. It's somewhere.
I've used it so many times, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it right now. Hang on. Do we have it in
API.dart.dev? Here we go.
Characters, FIG, Comfort Collection.
It's like core. Is it like Is it a
It's not
web
core.
thing?
It's not. It's not. It's not.
It's convert. Is it in convert?
No, it's
But
separate.
no,
It's a separate
somewhere
package.
there's all these dollar signs somewhere.
Yeah,
Except I
you
can't
do
remember
dollar
what
sign.
the-
If you wanted the ASCII value for A, you do dollar sign A. If you had it for B, you do dollar sign B. Yes, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, right. Where is that?
I swear
Somebody
it
in
was
the chat
just
room,
Is it
please
like
help us.
for encoding and decoding?
okay. I'm literally getting charcoal, but I always thought it was an internal package. But this is showing. This is
Oh,
basically showing the same. This is showing it. I didn't think it was this package.
I thought
This
it was
one. Yeah,
internal.
look.
Right. Oh yeah, that's it. That's the one. Constants all
Um,
the way to the
I know there's a package. I mean, it must be this one, but I always thought it was a Dart internal package. But yeah, so if you
right.
needed to get like a special symbol, like one of these weird symbols, you can use dollar sign followed by the name. So there's a bunch of standard naming conventions, like the HTML entity naming conventions for like apostrophe, and you can use all of these. But there's there's these ASCII ones. So when you want the ASCII value of, like in this case, 31 hex, it would be $1, which is the ASCII value of number 1.
Dollar
and so on.
even. That's great.
And
That's
so
cool.
like so you get like open bracket, open paren, open parentheses,
Mhm.
pipe. So yeah, it's really helpful when you're doing parsing to use something like this, especially when you need to deal with ASCII. Like this is definitely
Can
the
you
life.
use that? Can you use that to map events? Is that used for care keys? So like when you have a hotkey mapping and
I don't know, but you don't need to, because in Flutter it uses its own definition of a logical key.
Okay. Yeah.
So what Randall was just talking about is when you have hotkeys.
I'm going deeper in the woods. Sorry, guys. let's just keep wandering down this pathway.
I just want to bring this up. So when you press like Q on the keyboard and you want to identify that as like a quick key or something, you get like a keyboard event. And a keyboard event, all keyboard, for those that don't know, all keyboard keys that come from your keyboard are scan codes. This is because it scans the keyboard matrix and works out a special number for each combination of key on your keyboard, and then each combination of key presses. And scan codes are not what you think of, like they're like what you can type on the keyboard is not necessarily what application sees. It's the same thing as like the saying you type. I'm trying to think of a good example of this. Like you press Shift and a key on your keyboard. In this case, on my keyboard, it would be number 5, which is a percentage symbol. The app sees the percentage 5. The scan code is Shift and 5, right? Like it's the actual keys versus the actual what the app sees as the keyboard key that was pressed. So logical keys are those. So in this case, it'd be it'd be like in the example I just gave would be the percentage symbol. So you have every possible input is denoted in this class. So if we go down here, you have abort, accelerate, accept, add again. These are all essentially keyboard inputs. App switch. So some keyboards have like an app switching button. That's represented by that. Audio boost, audio balance, left, right, audio down. Every possible keyboard key is represented here, like F12, F16, whatever it is. And here is what Randall was just asking about, which is like key O. So the O key on your keyboard, key P, key Q, R, S, T, so on and so on. Yeah, so all of these keyboard keys are not ASCII values. They are they're differently, separately defined. It does look like they may have a similar value.
Yeah,
but
look at 6F, I think, is close to a K. Sounds like about a K.
It is actually, that is capital A, 61. So
yeah,
but it's not necessarily respecting of that. So these are separate values. Don't treat them as ASCII just because they're using that value. Like this is definitely not ASCII.
no.
So yeah. Anyway, look, TV, terrestrial, analog, TV, satellite. So imagine you've got like a TV remote. If you use Android TV, you'd probably get TV power when someone presses the TV power button on the remote on your Android TV, right? Like you can HDMI 1, 2, 3, 4 for switching inputs. It's all in there.
I always thought
this
it
is
interesting that, yeah, on Mac OS, you can actually do different things in certain programs with the left option versus the right option, and the left meta versus the right meta. And I thought it was interesting that most apps blend those, but there are certain apps like Discord, for example, recognizes right option as a separate key, so I can use that for my shift to talk.
So on Windows, control left control right control, not Windows but desktop, whatever. Left control
Yeah.
right control, left alt and right alt are separate keyboard keys and identified separately. However,
Yeah.
there's also a logically combined key of the two, and that's what you see. You can actually detect them in that list.
Right. Cool.
Interesting enough, on British keyboards, we actually have the right key, the right alt key. It's called Alt GR or Alt Graphical. And if you want to get like an acute A for, let's say, you're typing like French, you would press the right Alt and A to actually get the acute A in dialect, diacritic above the A. Same goes for like Euro symbol. We actually press it's, which one is it? It's 4, yeah. So we'd press Alt GR and 4, and we get the Euro symbol, which is not the pound symbol that we normally get in the UK, right? So
yeah, Ezra would know how to get the dotless I, for example, right?
You're muted, Ezra. You're muted.
Oh, muted.
Sorry. I mean, normally we do have like extra for it. I don't need to use. I just need to long press in other keyboards. But in Turkish
Okay.
we have a separate one for it.
Okay. Yeah. Great. I always bring up the dotless I because it's like this weird thing that doesn't have the equivalent for a capital letter, and so capitalizing and lowercasing gets confusing for Turkish. So I remember that very significantly.
All right, let's get to we get to the last few questions, and
Home
that's
run.
it.
Let's
We're
go.
going.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
I've noticed that when I use a
record.
record. There we go.
Yeah.
And I have a commented function. And I use the automatic reformat code. The code gets messed up. Have you come across this?
Does record not get formatted properly? I think record gets formatted properly. Maybe it doesn't format it the way they want it to format. That's always the challenge.
And I have a commented function. Oh, no, I know what he's talking about. That has been fixed. So that is you. Let's say you have a function that takes a record as a parameter or uses records, and then you format the entire block. When you go to, you comment the entire block, and when you go to format, it still tries to format the record even though it's commented out. And it messes up the formatting.
No.
I've seen that. That is a bug, and it has been resolved. Yeah.
Oh, bug.
So it's about precedence order. So basically, commenting out a line or commenting out a block of code is takes high. It should be to higher precedence than the record formatting in the formatter, and it wasn't. So the two things are flipped. So it's still trying to format even though it's commented out.
And he put a
exactly that.
Here,
Yeah. That has been seen. Make sure you upgrade to the latest patched version. I think it's already been patched and fixed in the latest Flutter version. If
should be running master. Everybody should be running master.
Oh,
no, I'm just kidding.
But that has
evil.
A couple of those things still exist, and yeah, they do definitely work. So they'll be fixed. Sorry. How do you go about creating a super app?
By being a super programmer. Super programmers do
an
this.
app that has micro apps built on top from a Flutter design point of view, e.g.,
white labeling.
I've not seen the Alibaba app directly, but I think I've seen this. I've heard the concept before, and that is, you running multiple apps in one app, basically, is what you're saying, or switching out. And the answer is you can do that. I mean, you're just running code, right? So the point here is it's about how you. It's because it's outside of the norm. It's very custom, and therefore you need a lot of extras. So in terms of, you're going to need to think about pipeline, how you're going to deploy these things, like to an app that hosts more apps, right? How you're going to download that code, how you're going to run that code. Also, the notion of an app inside an app can only work for Flutter code. It cannot work for native code. Native code is compiled and shipped by the App Store. Always will be the case. But equally, things like Shorebird come along, and if you want to just deploy your updates to your Dart code, you can do that over the wire. But truthfully speaking, you can have right now, you can have a different Flutter, different Android activity launch a completely different Flutter app, and have that deployed as one app to the App Store. You can do that. You're just telling it inside the Flutter activity. In fact, I'll show you where it is. The most people forget this actually exists, so I'm gonna pop this in the chat for those that don't know, and bring it up on stream, hopefully. And that is api.flutter.dev/javadoc. This is the official integration documentation for the shell. That is the thing that integrates with Flutter into Android. And there's also Objective-C doc, and that is the one for, I'll pop that in the chat for those that don't know. That is the one for iOS. And this is all the different like classes and things that integrate with the platform. Anyway, so if we go in here and go look at, I don't remember where it is now, embedding engine, is it activities in here? I think, nope, it'll be the one time I don't remember where it.
This is deja vu of the last time you said this. For this,
I know.
Needs a bookmark.
I'll find it in a minute. In fact,
not that I'm any better at all.
Can I not just search? It'll be my luck that it's not here. Flutter activity deprecated. Sure.
Oh,
be fine.
What replaces it if it's?
It's still called Flutter activity. It was just moved into a different namespace. So,
okay.
For those that don't know. Anyway, so this is the every Flutter activity is sorry, let me make this bigger. Every activity on Android is a Flutter activity. Here's its responsibilities. It also is responsible for discussing, sort of declaring which initial entry point and initial route from the app bundle is being used, and it has a function. There you go. Look, override get Dart entry point function name. If you override this on an activity, that activity will call a different function other than main to start the Flutter app. Now you define multiple entry points by marking them with this inside your Dart code. Very important. That's about the tree shaking. Because if you don't mark it as an entry point, it will be tree shaken out because it doesn't know you're going to run it. So you do this above each of your main, your main entry point. You can have one called activity 1 and one called activity 2. Each one has a Flutter run app inside each one. And you can have 3 different activities in your app and return back a different function name for the callback. You override this callback function and away you go. Now you've got 3 different apps running, 3 different activities. And then if you want to go from one to the other, you can use the Android Intent system. There's actually a package, Android Intent Plus. And for one Flutter application, you just say launch the activity for the second one. It'll just launch it. You've got 3 apps in one. You can do that. Does that help? I think kind of work very, like new intent build. Oh, look, Dart entry point can be passed to a list of arguments as well. There you go. So background mode. Ooh, new things. Oh no, this is not background. No, this is opaque or transparent. Yeah. So that's another thing. You can actually make your for those that don't know, you can actually make your Android apps transparent, have a transparent background. So if you launch them from an icon, like from a widget on the desktop on Android, it can actually pop up and hover over the top of the home screen on Android and other fancy things. Done all that before. But there's experiment with all this stuff. This is what it's here for. It's still it's all available. The standard norm way of building a Flutter app of just here's a screen, here's the content. That's just the standard way. It doesn't mean that's what you're limited to. Anything that you can build in Android, every Android app can still be done with Flutter, right? It's just how you integrate.
I have to spend some time learning about the new widget stuff in iOS 17 because if I can get a lock screen widget that's a Flutter app, that would be pretty fun because I've got some things I want to do. I think you can do it. I just haven't seen all the details of it.
Yeah.
There's literally spoke to the person who built the package. So back in the day,
literally spoke as opposed to figuratively spoke.
No, in person. It was oh my gosh.
Oh, okay.
I met this person.
Okay.
Home widget.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. So this package actually lets you build home screen widgets for Android and iOS using Flutter.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this also works on the lock screen as well. I may be misspeaking there, but I believe it does. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to just follow this package and use it. Obviously, like you can see here, like VM entry point. Look what we're just talking about, same thing. To sort of call in and work on things. But yeah, it's all possible. One of my very first talks on Flutter was actually about how to capture a bitmap using what was the thing?
The render thing, the render box capture, whatever the thing is.
Yeah, you want to capture a bitmap of a widget.
Yeah.
Oh god, I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, something needs to get access to the render box.
Repaint boundary.
Ah, that's it. That's it.
Anyway,
Yes.
so yeah, you rapidly repaint, capture the image, and then you can ship that over to Android's native framework, display that as a widget on the desktop, and that's always pretty interesting. Okay, well,
last thing.
Oh,
Here.
last thing was this. Yeah, great. Thanks very much. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we did a great course, and I'm glad that people got some content from that. And heard me talk. But hope that's cool. Anyway,
Cool.
right.
Well,
we
did a show. We did a show. We just did a show.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Ezra. And we'll be seeing...
You're welcome anytime. Just
Yeah,
come on
anytime.
by, and we can always use more people on the screen, so it's not just me and Simon in the last half hour.
The last hurrah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right,
165 hours. We will be back and answering your questions once again. Hopefully, it's not 2 weeks this time. I think it's just gonna be a week.
Yeah.
We will be waiting for you here.
Well, saying that, next Wednesday will be I may be doing it live from an event, so we'll see. Anyway, cool. Anyway, right,
could be exciting.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, all right. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you again.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Push the button.